Alone in an abandoned infirmary, one not found on any map, an old veteran and his dog descend into a cold basement, where the air is thick with the stench of death. What they discover freezes the blood in their veins. Pitch-black bags lie silently on a stone table, their shapes revealing an unspeakable truth. But before he can even process what he's seeing, footsteps echo down the stairs. Two masked figures enter, moving with the silence of professionals, beginning their gruesome work, completely unaware that witnesses are holding their breath in the shadows, just a few feet away. Please support us by subscribing to the channel. The late autumn sun cast long skeletal shadows across the floor of the small log cabin. It was a light without warmth, a pale imitation of the summer glow that had once soaked into its weathered pine walls. For Harry, it was enough. Warmth was overrated. Quiet was the currency he dealt in now. And here, nestled deep within the sweeping forests of Montana, he was a wealthy man. He pulled on a worn navy blue flannel shirt, its fabric softened by 1,000 washings, left unbuttoned over a simple gray t-shirt. The familiar weight was a small comfort. In the cracked mirror by the door, a man in his early 50s stared back. His face was a roadmap of a life lived hard, etched with lines from sleepless nights and unforgiving suns. His short brown hair was surrendering at the temples to a distinguished silver, but his eyes, a clear, steady blue, held a well of kindness that defied the ruggedness of his features. Tall and lean, his frame was built not of bulk but of resilient strength, the kind that endured rather than overpowered. A low whine at the door pulled his gaze downward, followed by the soft thump of a tail against the wood. Harry's lips curved into a rare smile, easing the tension in his face. All right, I'm coming." His companion was Tom, a German shepherd of about 6 years. His magnificent coat was a rare blend of wolf gray and stark white. Large and powerfully built, he moved with a quiet grace that belied his size. Intelligent amber eyes watched Harry with a depth of understanding that often felt more human than canine. Tom was more than a pet. He was an anchor, a silent keeper of secrets, and the only living soul who had seen Harry at his most broken. Once a skittish rescue pup, he had healed alongside the man who saved him. In healing the dog, Harry had found a way to begin healing himself. Outside, the air was sharp with pine and the faint clean promise of snow. Their routine was ritual. Long walks deep into the forest, following trails only they seemed to know. It was meditation through movement, a way for Harry to quiet the ghosts still whispering at the edges of his mind. Tom trotted ahead, ears swiveling, tail curved gently. He paused often, casting looks back as if silently checking, "Are you still here? Are you still all right?" For the first hour, the forest was as it should be, towering pines, stoic oaks, and the steady rhythm of a distant woodpecker. But as they ventured deeper into less traveled ground, the atmosphere shifted. The forest's usual chatter faded, replaced by a silence so heavy it pressed down on the skin. Tom sensed it first. He froze in the path, rigid, a low growl rumbling from his chest, the kind of sound Harry hadn't heard in years. The dog's fur bristled. "Easy, boy," Harry murmured, resting a hand on Tom's shoulder. "What is it?" But Tom ignored him. Instead, he whined, low and distressed, and tugged at Harry's jeans, urging him off the path toward a thicket of ancient trees. Harry hesitated. He trusted this dog's instincts more than his own, but the part of him that craved safety resisted. Tom tugged harder, amber eyes pleading. Harry sighed. "All right, show me." What they found froze Harry in his tracks. High in the branches of an ancient oak was a monstrous construction. At first glance, it looked like a nest, but it was grotesque, 10 feet across, woven from thick branches and twisted limbs, crude but immensely strong. It radiated a wrongness so profound that Harry's instincts screamed. It wasn't art, it wasn't accidental. In the service, they had a term for this, a tripwire for the mind, an object so fundamentally out of place it was designed to stop you cold, to warn you, to claim territory. Tom growled at his side, protective and tense. Harry's eyes scanned the silent forest. No tracks, no birds, no squirrels, nothing. It was as if the entire forest were holding its breath. This wasn't a refuge anymore, it was hostile territory. "Come on," Harry whispered, backing away slowly. "We're done here." But in his gut, he knew, it wasn't over, it had only begun. It was the meticulous accounting of a criminal enterprise that had once used this remote camp as its disposal ground. The initials, the dates, the coded entries, every page was here, a history of evil written in faded ink. This was the work of the founders, the original generation of criminals who had built this place. Harry closed the book, a profound sense of sorrow washing over him. He now held the story of the camp's past. He understood the old ghosts, but it didn't fully explain the present. The glove, the locket, the fresh tracks, the warning from Deputy Miller, those were recent. The ledger was a relic. But the threat that had led him here was alive and active, and his task was clear. He had to connect the dark past to the violent present. He had to figure out how the secrets in this old, forgotten book were tied to the people still using his forest as their hiding place. The map in his hands was the bridge. The nest was just one location, but there were others, marked and waiting, and Harry knew, with terrifying certainty, that he had to go to them. Returning from the dead camp felt like waking from a nightmare into a colder, harsher reality. The heavy ledger and the worn map now lay on Harry's wooden table, an open wound in the peaceful sanctuary of his cabin. For hours, he sat hunched over them, a single lamp casting yellow light across faded ink and cryptic symbols. Each name in the book was a ghost, each red circle on the map, a potential grave. The sheer, decades-long scale of the evil was almost impossible to comprehend. It had been festering in these woods, his woods, long before he had ever sought refuge here. The peace he had so carefully cultivated was shattered. The familiar whisper of the wind in the pines now sounded like a spy's murmur. The shadows of sunset stretched and twisted into watchful figures at the edge of the clearing. He was no longer a recluse seeking solitude. He was a man holding a lit match in a room filled with gasoline. And Tom felt it too. The dog rarely left his side, his warm body pressed close. Quiet naps had been replaced by an alert stillness, ears twitching at every creak of the cabin, gaze fixed on the windows. Tom was no longer resting. He was guarding, sensing a threat his human was only beginning to understand. The direct confirmation came the next morning. The air was cold and sharp. Frost glittered along the porch railings. Harry opened the front door to grab firewood and froze. Hanging from the iron handle, suspended by a length of dirty twine, was a dead crow. Its limp body dangled, feathers ruffled and dull, head twisted at an unnatural angle. One glassy black eye stared into nothing. It was a grotesque gesture, a violation designed to inspire fear and disgust, a message delivered with brutal clarity. We were here. We stood on your porch while you slept. We can reach you whenever we want. Harry's breath hitched. Fury rose in his chest, burning away fear. His hands clenched into fists. He had seen death in many forms, but this desecration of his home, this deliberate act of intimidation, felt deeply personal. Tied to the crow's leg with another piece of twine was a folded scrap of paper. Harry untied it with steady fingers. The crude scrawl inside, pressed hard into the paper with a thick marker, held just 3 words. Leave it alone. For a long moment, Harry stood in the cold air, the note in one hand. This was the response to his visit to the sheriff, the consequence of his discoveries at the camp. They hadn't just been alerted, they had identified him, tracked him, and now they were trying to drive him back into silence. With grim resolve, Harry carried the crow to the edge of the woods and buried it, a small act of respect in the face of monstrous disrespect. As he covered the bird with earth, his determination hardened. They thought a dead bird would scare him, but for a man who had survived war, it was nothing more than a declaration. And he knew how to answer a declaration.
If this tale moved you, if you felt the tension, the heartbreak, and the triumph, please support our channel by hitting the like button and subscribing. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring more thrilling, emotional, and inspiring stories your way. Leave a comment below and let us know what you think. Do you believe dogs have an extraordinary sixth sense? Share your thoughts and personal stories with us. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.